my predictions for UFC 329. I'm going to be starting off with the early prelims, going all the way up to the main event, giving my prediction and breakdown for each fight on the card. So, without further ado, let's just get right into it. Alright, starting off the card, we have Alessandro Costa versus Cody Durden. Safe pick here is probably going to be Alessandro Costa, but that being said, don't be surprised if Cody Durden pulls off the victory here. For me, he's a very 50-50 fighter. Great jiu-jitsu, but his stand-up is quite lacking. I could see a scenario play out here where Costa gets a first-round finish, first-round knockout, second-round knockout maybe. Yeah, probably not one to overthink with this one. Next up, we have Ryan Gandra versus Zach Reese. I think for this one, we'll probably go with Ryan Gandra. It's tough to say. Zach Reese is more experienced, I believe. He's had more time in the UFC. He's had some weird fights, some kind of fluky fights. Again, could pull off the victory here. Don't really know how good Gandra is yet, but he's looked pretty good so far from what we've seen. I would probably pick Gandra, but again, tough one. Alright, now this is a good fight. First, really good fight of the card. So we have Ethan Ewing versus Farid Basharat. Don't let the fact that Basharat is undefeated deter you from picking Ewing, because I do believe that Ethan Ewing will win this fight. Farid is good. Farid is a really good fighter. He's very by the book, very technical. But I just feel like Ethan is going to get up in his face, cause a lot of pressure, just not let up, not give him any space, and make it a dirty fight. And I think if he does that, that'll open up a lot of opportunities for him. And Ethan is also very skilled, very technical as well. So I don't think Farid's going to be dancing around him necessarily. Because that's probably what Farid will try to do, is kind of dance around the outside, take pot shots, point fight, win a decision. But I do think that Ethan Ewing will put the pressure on, make it a dirty fight, and probably win by decision too. But yeah, I just think he's going to be the more aggressive fighter. Moving up the card, we have Damian Pinos versus Cesar Almeida. Similar to the Gandra-Reese fight, though Cesar Almeida is a much more accomplished fighter than in the Reese-Gandra scenario. However, Damian Pinos, I believe, is probably a better prospect than Ryan Gandra. This guy has some serious power. What this fight will probably show is, just how far along is he? Is he technical enough to be striking with someone like Cesar Almeida? Is his power alone enough to, win the fight? Maybe he gets an early knockout. He is a favorite going into this as well, I believe, which, if you're looking for a good underdog pick, I'm thinking Cesar Almeida is probably your best bet. He is a bit older. Can't remember how old he is. Probably in his later 30s. But still, very skilled. I believe he was a former kickboxer for a lot of years. I could be wrong about that, but great striker. And I think he's not going to fraud check Damian Pinos, but people will probably say that. I think he's just the more skilled fighter overall. Moving on, we have Tracy Cortez versus Wang Kong. Uh, this one's a tough one. Really 50-50 on this. Tracy Cortez is good. Like, technically, she's skilled and she has great wrestling. However, I don't really think she's got that dog in her, so to speak. Like, I don't think, like, when it gets rough and gritty, you know. But then again, can Wang Kong make it rough and gritty of a fight? I don't know. I think she's more of a technical striker. The more I think about this, actually, the more I think, don't be surprised if Tracy Cortez just wrestles her way to a decision. I do think that's probably what's going to happen here. I think Cortez, it's probably going to be a pretty boring fight. She's probably just going to wrestle, grapple each round, dominate each round in the grappling. Probably won't be much exchanges on the feet. I could see each round starting with Wang Kong trying to get her striking going, trying to get comfortable, but before she can, I think Cortez is going to take her down, lay on top of her, maybe land a few elbows, probably try to go for some submissions. Don't know if she'll get any of it. I think this is going to be a Tracy Cortez decision. Boring fight, probably. Yeah, so that's that. Moving on. So that was the early prelims. I think now we're moving on to just the regular prelims. Starting off with Luke Riley versus Kai Kamaka the third, I suppose. I've actually never heard of this guy. The UFC roster is way too large. There is just way too many fighters. I don't even know if this guy's been around, or he's probably been around. He's got the UFC shorts. He's got, 18, 7, and 1. Well, for this one, I honestly can't really give a proper breakdown or prediction. However, I will say Luke Riley's striking is pretty impeccable. I think he's the heavy favorite going into this. It'll be just another fight, I guess, to see if Luke Riley is all the hype. Which I do think he is. I think you're probably safe to pick him, though, like I said, no idea who this guy is. Could surprise a lot of people. Don't know. Decent record. Shorter reach, or no, same reach, shorter leg reach. Yeah, probably a Luke Riley win, but we'll see. Alright, moving on, we have Cody Garbrandt versus Adrian Yanez. I'd love to see classic Garbrandt just show up, come out the woodworks, put on an amazing performance, but I'll be honest, I've been praying for that, almost every fight ever since he beat Dominic Cruz, and we haven't seen that guy show up again. So that's highly doubtful that we'll see that. Alright, just have to step away for a second, but we're back. Let's continue on. Alright, so as I was saying, Adrian Yanez, he looked really good in his last performance. Got completely robbed against Ricky Simone. And Ricky Simone's a good fighter as well. Just a solid contender. So, had he got that win, it would have been a good win. We've seen Yanez get knocked out by Rob Font. Although we've seen Cody Garbrandt get knocked out by Pedros Munoz. So, yeah. I think a lot of people are picking Yanez. I think a lot of people are right in picking Yanez. That's probably the safe bet. He's probably going to knock Cody out. Cody might have some moments, and like I said, love to see classic Garbrandt show up, get a knockout, put on a performance, but it's just not something to really be expecting these days. Alright. Moving on. I don't even know if this is worth talking about. Gable Stevenson. Anyone that's a fan of the sport knows that he's kind of going to be the next big thing in heavyweight, or at least that's the way they're building him up. No idea who this guy is, but after seeing the odds, I can assume that this is probably going to be a very one-sided beatdown. It's what the UFC does. They did it with Bo Nickel. They do it with certain fighters that they want to build up. Honestly, might not even watch this one. Might just skip it. I don't know. Might just watch it to see if Gable Stevenson's really all the hype. Not a big fan of these types of fights. Yeah, just moving on. Alright, and to head the prelims, we have Whitaker versus Nikita Krylov. Now, I haven't really looked at the odds for this one. Or I think I took a peek a while ago, and I remember it being like somewhat close. I don't think this is a very close fight, to be honest. Maybe it's close because Whitaker is moving up a division. But, yeah, I see Whitaker dominating this fight. I don't think Nikita Krylov is anywhere near the striker of Whitaker. I don't think the size difference is going to be that much, really. 6'3" versus 6 foot. I don't know why they have him listed at 185 still. He's obviously going to be 205 for this fight. That's pretty dumb. Yeah, I think Whitaker's going to dominate. I think it's going to play out very similar to the Ikram Aliskerov fight, where Whitaker just shows levels. You know, there is levels in MMA, and this is one of those fights. That's probably what's going to happen. Alright, moving on to the main card. We are starting with King Green, Bobby Green versus Terrence McKinney. McKinney, not McGinney. This is actually an interesting fight. This is actually probably going to be, well, I'm not going to say it's going to be close. It's just going to get dominated one way or the other, and it's really hard to kind of predict which way it's going to go. I'd say safest bet, most likely, Terrence McKinney is one of the best first-round fighters in all of the UFC. Very explosive, extremely fast, right off the hop. And we've seen fighters do this to King Green in the past, where they start off really fast, and maybe Bobby is a bit of a slow starter. I wouldn't say he's a slow starter, but he needs that first minute or 2 minutes to kind of feel out his opponent, you know, and get his reads and get his timing, and if he's able to do that, he's extremely difficult. That's why this fight is interesting, because if McKinney can't get Green out in the first round, I really do think that Bobby Green is going to win this fight. He's got so much experience, probably one of the most experienced fighters in the whole UFC right now. He has a great jab, great head movement, but yeah, this fight is really just going to be, can King Green survive the first round? Can he avoid those knockout shots and submission attempts from Terrence McKinney? I don't think he will. I think Terrence is too young, too fast, too powerful, and I think that's going to be the difference in this fight. I'm going Terrence McKinney, first round knockout or submission. Moving on. Brandon Royval versus Loner Kavanagh. I'm going with Loner Kavanagh. I think he's going to knock Brandon out, and I think this one could be bad. It could be bad for Brandon. He's been knocked out a good amount of times in his career now. He's a very aggressive fighter. Like, he does have the potential to win this fight, but I think he's going to get countered. I think he's going to rush in too aggressive, and Lohner's just too slick, and he's going to counter him bad. And, yeah, this might be, this might change the career trajectory for Brandon Royval. If he doesn't win this one, kind of takes him out of that top, I guess those like top 5 guys. Like, he's going to be outside of that, kind of in the lower half of the top 10. Does he still have the motivation? Does he still think he can be champ? I don't know. Maybe he does. But tough fight for him. And unfortunately, yeah, I think he's going to get knocked out. Alright. Next up. Now, Corey Sandhagen versus Mario Bautista. This one is tough. They fought before years ago, and Corey won. I believe it was by knockout, if I remember. I think he caught Mario. They've obviously both had tons of fights since then. Both evolved immensely. They're different fighters now. They're same but different, just more evolved, more skilled. Especially Bautista. I think he's made some incredible improvements. But I still think, that being said, I still think Corey Sandhagen will win this fight. It is tough. This is a very 50-50 one for me. But I don't think Bautista has necessarily, he could catch Corey, he could knock him out. I just don't see it happening. I just don't think he has the footwork. I don't think he can out-footwork Corey. I don't think he can outstrike him, and I don't think he can out-grapple him. I think Corey is just slightly better in each category, and he's got the height. Bautista actually has a longer reach, which is pretty crazy, but I still think that Corey edges this one out. He might even knock him out again, but I think it's going to be a close fight. I think he's just going to edge it out by decision and just show that he's just slightly better. And then probably call out O'Malley on the mic after. I think Corey's been wanting that fight for a long time now, and if he gets this win, you could see him getting that. So, big moment for Corey Sandhagen. Yeah, that's my pick. Moving on. Benoit Saint Denis versus Paddy Pimblett. I'm going to go with Paddy Pimblett. I think he's the underdog for this one. I just don't see Benoit being able to knock out Paddy. Gaethje wasn't able to knock out Paddy. Benoit's not going to knock him out. And out of the two, I do believe Paddy is the better grappler. That might be a controversial take. That might surprise some people, but I think Benoit, way better wrestler, and I think he's definitely going to try to take Paddy down and probably might even succeed a few times. But I think that's kind of what Paddy wants. I think Paddy wants him to take him down, and then once he's in Paddy's world, I think he's going to pull off some weird type of submission. Like some weird, kind of like what he did against Jordan Levitt, where he's reaching around his whole body and just wrapping himself around him. I think Benoit is going to put his neck or something into a position, into a submission, something he can't get out of. Could even be, like I said, it could just be some weird type of submission. Yeah, and I'm thinking it's going to be a first or second round. I think Paddy Pimblett wins first or second round submission. That's my prediction for this fight. Not to say that Benoit's not good. Phenomenal fighter. Great record. He's a problem. He's going to be a problem for a while to come, I think. He's going to be always in that top, close to the top five, uh, pushing to try to get the belt. He's going to be a contender up there for a while, so can't count him out, but I do think when it comes to the grappling, at least, I think Patty is special. I think that is where he shines, and I think that's where he's going to win this fight. Alright, now last but not least, the main event. The fight that everyone's talking about. The fight that's dragging out all the casuals. This fight is a big reason why I'm starting this channel. I just felt like it was a good time to give my 2 cents, give my takes. I've been a fan of MMA for over a decade. Maybe not a hardcore fan, but a consistent casual fan. I'm becoming more hardcore in recent years. And like many, Connor, big reason I got into the sport. I was already aware of the UFC prior to him. And I was already sort of a fan of like GSP and Anderson Silva, but Connor really changed the game, because I think I had stopped watching at that point, and then he sort of dragged me back into it, and I think that was with a lot of people that happened, Connor's definitely what, he made us care about the UFC more than we probably would had he not been around. Anyways, that's enough glazing. Obviously I'm a Connor fan. That being said, I'm also a Max Holloway fan. I think, he's had an amazing career. He's definitely the favorite going into this, the more active fighter, the more consistent fighter. And if you were playing this safe, I think the safe bet is obviously Max Holloway. If you were putting money on this, if you're, if that's what you're doing. Or if you're just predicting for fun. Oh, if you're predicting for fun, pick Connor. But if you're, safe bet here's definitely Max. There's a lot of unknown with this fight. It's hard to predict. We don't know what shape Connor's coming in. But with that all being said, I am going to pick Conor McGregor to win this fight. I just think he wouldn't come back unless he felt like, unless he knew that it was worth it and that he was dialed in enough to really perform. Like, I think even when he was supposed to come back against Michael Chandler and he pulled out due to the broken toe, I think the old Conor would have fought, and I think a lot of us felt that way. I think he pulled out because he knew mentally he wasn't there and ready, and I do think he still probably would have beat Chandler because Chandler's kind of proven to be not that good. But, I think with Conor, I think with a lot of these fighters, it's a mental game, and he's only going to come back and fight if he's completely ready. And I do think that is the case for this fight. I do think he's going to win. I could see this playing out in two different ways. The more obvious is that Conor gets the knockout, early, round 1, round 2. Being at the bigger weight, maybe it's going to give him more power. Well, obviously it will, but if it doesn't, slow him down, hinder his movement. We've seen Max get knocked out now by Ilya. I think Conor hits probably just as hard as Ilya. It's just going to be how he sets it up. It's just going to be if he can set it up, if he's fast enough. Max is probably going to be a lot faster. He'll have to deal with that. But that leads me into the second way I see this fight playing out, which is there is a chance that Conor goes out and wrestles him, and just wrestles him for like 5 rounds. I can't even say that with a straight face, but um, not like smother him like a blanket, like a Hamza Chimaev performance, but I think, he could mix it in each round, start the round off striking and then midway through get Max to the ground. And if he's able to do that kind of in the same way that Charles Oliveira was, I mean, there's the path to victory right there against Max. I think Charles just exposed Max's wrestling and grappling abilities in that fight. And Connor's, he's not dumb. He's a smart guy. He's very, that's why he's where he is. That's why he's the man he is. A lot of people like to downplay what he's done, but I think he has a plan. I think he's very focused. I think he's taking this fight very seriously, and I would not be surprised if Connor mixes in the wrestling to get the victory for this one. So, that is going to be my pick. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you guys like the video, if I should do anything differently. This is all new to me. I'm just trying this out. But like I said, been a big fan of MMA for over a decade, and would like to give this a go. So, anyways, let me know what you guys think down in the comments, and I'll see you guys in the next one.